It's an emotive argument. You can't blame people for feeling the way they do if they don't have the alternative put in front of them. And we believe we have a positive story to tell, and we need to be telling it. As otherwise, you're going to see the footage, eating red meat kills koalas and all that type of thing. Well, there's evidence to say that koalas can actually thrive under, cohabiting with grazing animals. Ultimately, ours is we're soil driven now. So when we first started, it was all about the quality of the cattle, then it was about the pasture, and I think now we're at a point where we should have started. It's all about the health of our soils, because everything comes from that, like infiltration and that type of thing. So it's all about the soil.
So we're really focused on every single drop of rainfall. We just do everything in our power to get it stored in the soil. So it's not that critical how much rain you get. What's absolutely critical is how much you can store in the soil. So we really focus on that, and we focus on having our pastures in the most healthy state possible, which means that under the ground's healthy. The roots are deep, the microorganisms are all working under there. We're adding legumes like Desmanthus progatis, because they're deep tap-rooted legumes, and they're not only adding nitrogen, but they're bringing fertility up from down really deep, and they're allowing moisture to infiltrate down deep in the soil.
My parents drew our block in 1970. In those days, basically the rule was with brigalow country, you cleared it from fence to fence basically. They didn't leave anything. What was left was basically dependent on the size of the machines you had. If you had big machines, there was no timber left. My parents couldn't afford big machines, so a lot of the black butts that they couldn't push, they were left, but they eventually died out. And then we have a significant amount of remnant ironbark. But we also have areas that my parents were obligated to, they tordoned it, so it was chemically treated. And a lot of ours, it was open ironbark country that should never have been touched. They were obligated to treat it, and it's an ongoing issue for us now, is to continuously deal with the regrowth, because once again it's not sustainable the way it comes back. Open ironbark country turns in when it regrows in a way that it's just very, very thick. We've got examples at home where not real big trees, the canopy's touching and all that type of thing, and it's basically a mess. The whole idea that that previously cleared land and regrowth will actually go back to being remnant is a falsehood, and it actually, a lot of times it'll go back to a monoculture that is not ecologically sustainable, it's not environmentally sustainable, and it's certainly not productive.
Well, trees play a pretty big role in what we do, because our developed countries runs 10% on, or 10 to 12% of trees in our shade lines and stuff, and we believe that we've got to have that for biodiversity and shade for our livestock and those sort of issues. But then on our forest type country, well, it's forest country, which represents about 35 to 40% of our operation between here and our northern country. So it's important that we manage our trees properly. And having them too thick and not doing anything at all with trees is not the way to manage forestry at all.
And how long has biodiversity and been a thought in the way you manage the property?
Well, it's evident, Eric, on what you've seen on those videos there today on our shade lines. they're all 30 odd year old, so this stuff is not new to us. We started thinking about this back when I was in my 20s, and I'm now over 60, so it's pretty evident that it's been in our repertoire for 30 or 40 years.
So to me the solution really is we've got to take the focus away from trees and we've got to move it onto ground cover. If we've got good healthy ground cover and we do things to promote good healthy ground cover, then we're doing the right thing. But anything we do that doesn't promote it, like leaving a whole heap of brigalow regrowth that actually has got a negative allelopathic effect on everything around it, and it's got shallow moisture sucking roots, that's not a good thing for ground cover, so it's not a good thing for the environment. Carbon in the soil is your building block for everything, so really the more we can get down there, the better it is for our production business, the better it is for the environment. So it's a win-win. We're not necessarily looking for carbon credits or any of that sort of thing. We'd probably might think of insetting if we're ever forced into that, but just understanding carbon flows and storing it in the soil is a pretty positive thing for a business.
From what I'm seeing of that early data is that we're actually losing less carbon. We're not losing much carbon at all. And then with our management change as far as livestock goes, we sequester carbon, but then we only level off. And I think that's probably some of the secret about the way we manage our country. Yes, we are going to have problems in really, really dry years, but if we can keep to the stage where we don't lose much, it's like walking up a staircase. If you keep stepping up, but if you don't step back, if you just stop, and then you keep stepping up, you'll get to the top a lot quicker than you will if you step back 2 or 3 steps. So, but that's all stuff we've got to learn yet.
Basically, we're only land stewards, and we're the stewards for the next generation. And things have, in my time, how we look at things and how we do things have evolved so much. But you've got all these technologies that are available today with flux towers, and we regularly measure our soil health, and but now we're measuring our pastures, and everything we do is based on the more and more information and the credible information we have, so that we can do a better job.
And you brought this group out here today to come and have a look at what you guys do in this area. Why do you think that's so important?
Oh, I think because the thing for the three of us that are in the landholders involved in getting you people out here, and we very much appreciate the response we've had. It's been fantastic, but ultimately for us it's about telling our story, because if we're not, someone else will be telling it for us. And these things are, and it's an emotive argument. You can't blame people for feeling the way they do if they don't have the alternative put in front of them. And we believe we have a positive story to tell, and we need to be telling it. As otherwise, you're going to see the footage, eating red meat kills koalas and all that type of thing. Well, there's evidence to say that koalas can actually thrive under cohabiting with grazing animals, and we've been able to somewhat demonstrate that on our property.